Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready? The champ is here! It's just a man! Give me a hell yeah! What the rock is cooking? To be the man, you have to be the man! Big bubble pump! If you hook up! Cup of coffee in the big tank.
Coming to you from the Famcast Media Studios here in the heart of Hudson County, folks. You know, it's always in Union City and Weehawken, respectively. This is the latest edition of Working the Marks, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, the Professor Fernando Uribe. Certainly here, welcome you all on this, the 26th of February, as we're closing out the month of February. And he is, of course, New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the PVR superstar, the illustrious, the glorious, the dubious, the notorious Patrick Rivera. What's up, PVR?
That's what's up. Congratulations to the Carabao Cup champions of 2023, Manchester United. Good day. Good day at the Pack Cave. Good day.
I think that's the first time I've ever thought of the concept of hallelujah and Patrick Rivera in the same sentence. That's amazing. Holy shit.
Well, you got to meet some of my girlfriends. Nah, they'll have terrible things to say about me. That was a joke.
Folks, welcome once again, and thank you for tuning in from wherever and however you're doing so right here on StreamYard, of course, via the Working the Marks YouTube page. Also, thank you to Famcast Media for always being a proud supporter and sponsor of Working the Marks here. Of course, you can check out all of our great social media, as you can see there on the banner on the bottom of the screen there. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Hit me up there, folks. Again, New Jersey's top Latino for the third consecutive year. You want to definitely check out some of the good stuff there. That's right. Top Latino. You know what? Hey, Bean Brown is something to be proud of. And, you know, nobody's as brown as I am, Pat.
Anyway, we're talking about wrestling, right?
That's, well, again, you know, we're just telling you, check out our social media. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure to, hit up Patrick on his DMs and tell him to get a haircut and or shave.
You're also on Twitch now.
Yes, we're also on Twitch. So if you can convince Patrick to shave, because Bobby Fish wants his mustache back, obviously, as well as his Puerto Rican goatee there. My God, this is, folks. I tell you, this is you gotta love when people make those attempts at beards. I tell you, But again, as you gotta love that head of hair on Patrick. He's got a beautiful head of hair, bro. I hate him for that.
And I'm as charming as Babe the Talking Pig, too. So, it's some people might say I'm the total package. Huh?
Well, I'll tell you. Folks, again, hit us up on obviously all of our social media. Download the episodes wherever you get your podcasts, and certainly sharing is caring on the Working the Marks YouTube page as well as on Twitch now. Shout out to our amazing and incredible producer, D. Rotten, fellow Jersey resident there. I will not drop his I will not drop his government name, because certainly we do not want the rather incompetent FBI to do anything against D. Rotten, as if they do anything anyway. But
Joe Biden's FBI.
Well, the incompetent FBI, but
it's Joe Biden's FBI. Donald Trump's FBI needs to come back
and turn us
into a War Games match.
That's what they need to do. I'd pay money for that. But folks, again, thank you for joining us here on Working the Marks here as we continue on StreamYard. A lot to get to in the world of professional wrestling. A busy week, though, man. Let's start off with some news. The announcement of the Great Muta announcing his retirement this week, an illustrious career. Obviously, we have so many memories of watching the Great Muta, a guy who, I think revolutionized pro wrestling when he came into the United States in the mid to late 80s, obviously. going into World Class Championship Wrestling and then the National Wrestling Alliance. A guy who was a pioneer, certainly, and a guy who learned to, I guess, adapt to new styles. As we all know, Father Time is undefeated, and his body, like everyone else's, gives out on you. You have to sort of adjust your style. Great Muta was an exceptional example of that, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, Muta was immensely influential. You look at a lot of the junior heavyweights, the heavyweights that came up in that time, the late 80s, early 90s, even into the 2000s, Muto found a way to reinvent himself, always be relevant, evolve with the times. And as you said, Father Time is undefeated. And Muta really was able to change his style to kind of serve what his body was capable of at the time. And I think really the best kind of workers are the ones that do that over a long period of time. And just, everything about Muta was just so cool. I mean, he was in the NWO. He was one of like 7 million members in the NWO. He, his face painting, his entrances, his entrance attire, like all of this stuff, man, was just like so influential to so many different people and really got people thinking and really got people creating, and as I've said on this episode, and as I've told you before, Fernando, one of my dream matches has always been, The Undertaker against the Great Muta. It's unfortunate we'll never get to see that among other dream matches, but that certainly would have been great.
No, absolutely. And I think it's a testament to, his longevity. I think he's a guy that understood the business, understood that you have to change your style up. You certainly listen. I think a lot of wrestlers in their later years, in the twilight years, I think struggle with that realization. We're seeing it now, right? With Chris Jericho, we're seeing with other older wrestlers that maybe are unwilling. They're certainly not. It's not like they're unable to. You can certainly do anything you put your mind to, but there's a willingness. It seems like older wrestlers, some don't want to do that. And I think that, you look at someone like Muta, a great farewell tour, obviously great matches in Japan recently to sort of cap off a career, no question. And I know you and I talk off the air a lot about this, and it's more a gimmick Hall of Fame, but I think without a doubt, whether it's this year in LA or next year in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for WrestleMania 40, I think that the Great Muta certainly will be a Hall of Famer in the WWE, and we'll see. I mean, certainly. Listen, I think we look at his, I believe his uncle, right? The Great Kabuki, right? That was his uncle, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I honestly don't know.
Kayfabe, brother, kayfabe.
Kayfabe, gotcha.
Yeah, it might have just been straight up kayfabe, but
cool. You look at that lineage of great wrestlers, and I think the Great Muta certainly has earned his place as a Hall of Famer. I know it's a gimmick Hall of Fame. It's not. We're not talking about Cooperstown or Canton, Ohio, or Springfield, Massachusetts. But, you look at a career coming to an end, and I think the Great Muta, I'll always remember that amazing match in the summer of '89 at the Great American Bash in Baltimore, Sting and the Great Muta for the coveted NWA World Television Championship. Hell of a match. And that probably one of the more formidable and memorable feuds that the Great Muta had. So just to see Sting and the Great Muta sort of a full circle moment at the end of last year on a Dynamite in Queens during the Grand Slam that they had there in September, I thought it was a good full circle moment for fans that, again, got to relive it then and got to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big things, with Muta is definitely the entrances. These just really elaborate, creative, amazing entrances. You see the influences with Finn Balor, with guys like that, and you see, how they become so creative. Bray Wyatt, a bunch of other different guys and stuff like that. So yeah, that for me, like Muta was never also afraid to be weird. Muta was also one of these dudes that, again, like, he made it believable. You know what I mean? And his matches with Chono, his matches with Sting, Flair. I mean, like, dude, so many different people that this dude wrestled throughout his entire career, and just so many generational talents that he got to mix it up with. So for me, he's my favorite Japanese wrestler of all time.
No, I'm with you.
Him, Liger, those guys, that they're gonna live forever, as well as Misawa, Kabashi, Taue, Akira Taue. All these dudes are gonna live like forever. So it is what it is, man.
No, definitely a great career, and again, congratulations to Great Muta on finishing again with class and style, and certainly, we'll miss watching him in the ring for the foreseeable future. Some other news, though, as well, Pat, obviously this week announced, and we'll get to the ratings of the shows later, but once again, A&E, strong traffic last week with the new season of Biography and Rivals. Obviously, last week we got to see the NWO Biography on A&E. For a lot of us who lived that time period in the mid to late 90s, when Scott Hall showed up on that Monday Nitro, basically on Memorial Day in '96, and subsequently we would see what would materialize the rest of that summer. It was really interesting. Again, I think some new footage, stuff that we had not seen during that biography, which I think they're always so well done. And listen, as the history professor, as someone who loves reading about history, reliving history, watching it, I mean, it was great to see this. I would argue that the NWO, I think, started getting stale probably in '98 when you started breaking up the factions, and then it was just WCW as a company wasn't doing well. It was restructured. Bischoff talked about that at length. They also talked about the big letdown, about literally the whole year of a program of Sting sort of abandoning WCW because they felt they turned on him, the Crow gimmick, that whole literally a year of storytelling of Sting coming down from the rafters, jumping Hogan, jumping the NWO to finally have their climax at Starrcade in December of '97 at the MCI Center in downtown Washington, D.C. What a letdown. Bischoff talked about that. We're always going to hear revisionist history about what happened that day. Oh, well, Hogan changed the finish. Or, well, Hogan had creative control. Sting was going through personal problems. Oh, WCW wasn't doing well financially. I mean, again, we didn't get the payoff we wanted, but as a whole, it was a very good series to talk about. Again, with the biography, I know tonight it will be Jake the Snake Roberts, a very compelling character in pro wrestling history. And then certainly the Rivals episode will be Mankind versus The Undertaker. So I think A&E continues to do well. Their ratings show it. I think wrestling fans like watching this stuff. I mean, maybe it's not for everybody, but I think they're smart to sort of latch on with this.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about it. But it's kind of cool, though, that, there's people out there that like it, and I think it's good for young fans to watch to kind of get an understanding. And it's great for the business. It also makes kids go and get Peacock and pay $10 a month without any ads for them to be able to, watch wrestling and watch all different types of wrestling from so many different eras. It continues to feed the business, grow the business. It's all good for the business. It's not for me. I don't really give a shit. I fucking lived it. But, it's cool for the people that like it. And at the end of the day, it keeps the business going.
But Pat, again, I think we're different in that sense because, like, for example, again, I'm a big history buff. I teach history. I mean, I'm, that's sort of my bread and butter and all that. But, like, I think there's something to be said. I mean, why? I mean, maybe it's a bad example, but I mean, why the History Channel continues to still do very well, and why even like premium subscribers to History Channel, Discovery. I think people enjoy that content. Now, again, I'm not trying to compare, analyzing, the Civil War or World War II to, pro wrestling, but I think there's an affinity I think that people have for reliving history. Yes, you're right. We both lived it. I remember watching it on Monday nights when there wasn't streaming, when there wasn't DVR, when you had to either make a decision on Monday nights to say, am I going to watch Raw or am I going to watch Nitro? And I think it's fair to say that pretty much from Memorial Day 96 up until probably, I would say that whole summer and fall, that was compelling. Like, you had to watch Nitro. I think people felt compelled to watch Nitro more than Raw. No disrespect to what was going on, because it was clear that Vince was moving away from, again, sort of the bigger stars from the previous generation and focusing on great athleticism like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, to some extent, obviously Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left, but Vince felt, hey, I'm going to focus on making new stars, not sort of living off the golden era. It was still the new generation, right? It wasn't still the Attitude Era yet. It was still about 2 years away. But I thought that, it was just, for example, bad timing for Shawn Michaels. He won the title in April at WrestleMania in a classic Iron Man match. But then for the rest of that summer, like, he was putting on great pay-per-view matches every single month at the In Your Houses, at King of the Ring, more on King of the Ring later. But it just seemed like he was a victim of circumstance. Great star, great, I think, performances. But ratings-wise, the NWO was hot that summer and fall. And I think, whether it was Bret Hart returning, Shawn, the Smoking Guns as tag team champions, certainly, the IC title, like Ahmed Johnson was getting hot after a great rookie year. Like, I think it was just bad luck in the sense of what the NWO represented, because that's all most people wanted to watch on Mondays.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Hold on. I found it.
Okay.
I found my smile. I just lost it for a second. Well, I mean, look, again, bro, I just don't care about this kind of stuff. For me, I just watch the programs, the gimmick, like the actual gimmick. This is cool, like I said, for wrestling fans, for people that like to relive it. Nostalgia, that's like the biggest kink of all wrestling fans, right? It's like, why like all these old guys still keep going out there, almost shattering their hips or jumping off of balconies and stuff, like New Jack, like, I get it. I understand it. For me, I've lived it. And yeah, it was a great time. But I guess I relive it in my own way sometimes. Maybe I'll go back and watch something on Peacock, commercial free and stuff like that would be great. So yeah, so that's what I do,
Again, folks, people like me, shareholders and everything that already have given money to Vince McMahon over the years and WWE, the corporation, I don't feel like giving another $5. I've given enough of my disposable income in my adult life. I shouldn't have to endure 50 ads while watching a movie or a pay-per-view or a previous pay-per-view or a PLE. Kill me, Pat. I don't know what to tell you, bro. Like, give me a break. What
about when you watch The Bachelor and there's like 50 commercials on the TV?
But that's broadcast television.
Okay, well, I mean, they got to have commercials too. There's a lot of sponsorship, a lot of money, a lot of things at stake. $5 more, we'll get rid of it all.
As if they're not making enough money with like millions of subscribers. What?
No, man. No, I mean, did they get into charity? Like, I mean, like they do charity in different ways, don't they? It's like UNICEF ain't involved, right?
Well,
it's not.
I can't, folks.
I'm just saying.
I just like even watching YouTube now is becoming really aggravating. Like they're doing it on purpose. They're almost trying to force your hand to buy YouTube Premium because, bro, I can't even watch a Cornette review of something without 10 ads. It is becoming it's becoming obnoxious, bro. I'm sorry, and I know I speak for a lot of people.
You should do something about it.
I have. I've been writing to them.
Keep writing. Maybe you need a protest. Why don't you guys show up, all of you, all 5 of you, and go protest and see what happens. Take a day off. Take a mental health day. Go have lunch. Maybe there's a Perkins around here you guys could go to.
You know what? Even our producer D Rotten's on my side. I know he is. He may not say, but he's on my side. I bet you.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you PayPal'd him, but there's got to be an arrangement if he's agreeing with you.
Well, Pat, again, it's 2023. We Zelle people now. PayPal is like very 2011. That's great. But
I'm sorry. It's because I have Android and stuff like that. So that's
it's Zelle now, dude.
It's Cash App. It's Cash App. We gotta get a Cash App.
There you go. All right.
We're gonna get a Work in the Marks Cash App. All right. We're gonna get a Work in the Marks OnlyFans. We're gonna do it all. We're gonna get in.
That's it. We're getting on everything. We'll get you a MacBook, and you'll get me the premium subscription for Peacock. I think we could get all done. With that.
Patreon, the whole 9. I'll go back to being a hand model again. I'm a hand model. There you go.
That's it. Absolutely. Other good stuff in the news cycle this week, man. Something that warms my heart, and WWE announcing this May that Backlash will resume as a PLE in early May, and in late May, the King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournament will be a standalone PLE. As a fan of the original King of the Ring pay-per-views, which were amazing, I think back to 2000, the whole tournament was on that night. You had the tag titles on the line. You had Vince McMahon teaming up with his son Shane and Triple H, the WWF champion, against The Rock, Undertaker, and Kane in a sort of winner-take-all match for the championship. Bro, King of the Rings has given us some of the greatest memories. Obviously, the tournament itself, the great match between Undertaker and Mankind, Hell in a Cell. Literally, you saw the birth of the greatest character in pro wrestling history, Steve Austin, in '96. I think it was Dayton, Ohio. I could be mistaken. But, bro, you saw the first King of the Ring on pay-per-view with Bret the Hitman Hart, his brother Owen winning. Bro, it's a great standalone PLE. And I'm just glad that Paul, and he's not doing this to please the marks. It's not. It was a good standalone PLE.
Yes, he is.
But it always was. It always was a good standalone, dude.
Okay. But he's doing this to get the rest of the marks to come over. Just like the way he's going to go after Kenny Omega, just like the way he's going to go after Switchblade, just like he's going to go after MJF, just like he's going to go after all these AEW guys once their contracts are up, because he wants to get the marks to fully come back over instead of just partially being there. You know what I'm saying? He wants them to fully come over. So doing shit like this, what's the number one thing that I just said the wrestling fans fucking love? Nostalgia.
That's right.
Nostalgia. Marks love nostalgia. Okay, so this is more nostalgia fix. This is more Triple H saying, why don't you mark all over? Let me scratch your belly, eh? Time to play the game, And that's what he's doing. He's giving them what they want.
But
it's a smart business move to get that.
But it's also profitable. It's also profitable. I mean, you can sell merch.
Anything they do is going to be profitable. It doesn't matter.
I agree.
It doesn't matter, yo. They could do the freaking I don't know, Al Bundy Cup. And be like, it's a prestigious one-night tournament, and the winner gets a new pair of shoes and a fucking trophy. They'll do it that night, and it'll still be the same purpose. It'll still serve the same purpose as the King of the Ring. It's a fucking tournament, so it doesn't matter what you call it.
I just thought,
but it's nostalgia. He wants the marks to come back. That's what he wants. He wants to. If you don't think for a second that just because Tony Khan is not competition for the WWE, that Triple H doesn't want to wipe him out, you're out of your fucking mind.
Oh, I agree.
Okay?
Listen, I agree with you. And I think that he's being business savvy, certainly. I think also to the reality that, as you said, nostalgia sells. It's something to look forward to. Like we used to, those summer PLEs, right? Those old summer pay-per-views. At the same time, also, I think it was also like, hey, the winner normally got the title shot at SummerSlam. I mean, it's sort of like that sequence. Yeah. We like to follow, so I don't think it's bad. I'm sure it'll do well. It'll sell out just like, and we'll get to our next news story in a minute, but another big gimmick PLE will sell out. And I'm sure this will sell out as well coming up this May. I'm not sure what the location is, but I'm sure it'll be announced fairly shortly since they do want to get ticket sales and everything else, sort of up and running, especially after Mania, all the other shows that come up as well. Because obviously, 2 shows in May. I believe there is not a show in June, and then there's one in July in London, which we'll get to in a moment.
You sure they're not going to do in June King of the Ring Backlash? Because maybe they could do that there, and that might be maybe a better idea.
Oh, no. I like the fact that in May they're doing Backlash. Like we all grew up watching Backlash. That's it. Not an addendum to it. Not a modification on the name. It's just
you still watched it.
I still watched it. I just thought it was nonsense.
You still watched it.
The backlash of WrestleMania. What backlash?
They could have called it Mahon Compata.
But
they could have called it Mahon Compata, and you still would have watched it.
But it didn't make sense. I'm like, what backlash to WrestleMania is there? Well, there's no backlash to WrestleMania.
How does it all make sense? None of it fucking makes sense. It's fucking wrestling. It's fucking wrestling.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Hey, listen, the professor's getting a little. The professor's very literal.
I know.
Okay? The professor's literal. God, kill me. What do you want me to do, bro?
It's all right. It's still real to them. Damn it. It's still real to you, damn it.
Yeah, it's still real to me and D. You know what I'm saying? So, but obviously moving on to other news, as we just alluded to, certainly great to hear King of the Ring is returning along with Backlash in May. I think in less than half an hour, Money in the Bank will be taking place from London, from the world famous O2 Arena in downtown good old London, England. And to no one's surprise, Money in the Bank selling out There was some whispers this year that maybe Triple H was going to bring the Money in the Bank match to WrestleMania and avoid having it as a standalone PLE. That's not the case. As we all know, whether it's in the United States or abroad, you bring something like Money in the Bank, it's going to sell out in an amazing. I would have liked to have seen if they did it in Wembley, but they just had. I'm pretty sure they're going back in September, possibly for another Clash of the Castle show. So maybe they didn't want that overlap of like doing a show in London in Wembley Stadium and then something, I believe, in Wales. Again, I don't know. I haven't seen. I know our amazing producer D. Rotten just gave us sort of a itinerary of what the PLEs will be for this year. Mm-hmm. But maybe that was the reason for not having Money in the Bank in Wembley Stadium.
I mean, who knows what it could be? That makes a lot of sense what you just said. Wembley Stadium's a great place for Man United today, winning the League Cup. Got to throw that back in there again. But look, man, it doesn't matter where they go. They're going to sell out. Europe, they're mad for it. And let me tell you something. This is something that I don't think people really will give enough credit to. But Triple H, Vince, Sean, what they did creating NXT UK, keeping that going for as long as they did, kind of growing that fan base even more in their own way, kind of familiarizing them with big characters. I mean, you got to think that, at some point they're going to bring in, some more of these NXT guys that were super over in NXT UK. So, little by little, it that really helped get them to the point where they're at now, aside from just the main roster stars that they already have. So I'm excited for it, man. I like that they're doing all these overseas shows. I like when they go out and they have these big types of big event feels. I think it's great, and it only adds to the product. And I think it really makes the talent step up their game. And I think it's fantastic for wrestlers in general. You need that. You need that incentive to really step up. Otherwise, you're going to get complacent. You're going to phone it in. So I definitely look forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, listen, like anything else, we're going to enjoy watching it. It's always one of those PLEs we're always excited about. But for both the men and women's, they're the qualifying matches. The match itself is always a lot of scary bumps sometimes. And I'm not talking about what guys and girls do in bathrooms in New York City and clubs, but scary bumps, certainly that go on, during those ladder matches, which are always dangerous. You never know. Sometimes, as you always say, it's not ballet. And, you being a former worker, how intensive and laborious it can be physically when you start using props like ladders, obviously, when there's no give on them. But it'll be interesting. Other wrestling news here, Pat, certainly I know that a lot of whispers were being made that while Jay White was going to be one of the more attractive free agents on the market right now for WWE or AEW, certainly not Impact Wrestling. I mean, I think obviously what Jay White wants to do is not something that, Impact Wrestling and Anthem LLC can afford at this time. So obviously it was great to see him when they were there, as when they had Bullet Club obviously on the show. Certainly Jay White knows after leaving, after his contract expired with New Japan, coming to North America, we'll see which promotion will be, I guess, in a bidding war for Jay White. But the bigger news, obviously, in the last couple of weeks was, maybe the contract status of Kenny Omega. But it was reported by a few different outlets that due to I believe the injury time that he took, I believe, from August, September. I think November of 2021 until August of 2022, that injury time, I believe, was added on to what's, I guess, remaining on his contract. So his contract was due to expire at the end of last month. I think the injury time had to be added on there to make sure that that time was accounted for contractually. That's how I read it. What are you hearing?
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing that's been reported. But I mean, I don't know. I'm just not buying it, man. I still think he's going to end up staying. He's got a good thing going.
He's a fucking dummy.
Well, that's for multiple reasons. Yeah. But we can get to that on the show. Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you to some extent, D. I think that, if he doesn't go, he's never really going to know. I think he's kind of done his thing. He's kind of gotten it out of his system, whatever it is that he wanted to do. And I think that if he really wants to be remembered, like really, really remembered as like a top talent, he really needs to like take that next step and go to WWE.
I agree, and I think some oversight on him would be incredible because he has no oversight now. He's an EVP, right, contractually. Certainly him, along with Nick and Matt Jackson, have pretty much anonymity to do whatever they want and how they're booking themselves, right? I mean, creative control's a dangerous thing. And not for everybody. I mean, I think some people having complete creative control isn't a bad thing, in my opinion. But certainly in the wrestling business, I think it's not a good thing, especially with a lack of oversight. I think it would be great to have him work with Paul, be in NXT. Well, I mean, I don't know if they would debut in NXT. Maybe just be on the main roster. But But it'll be interesting, again, if the reports are true that the injury time had to be added to the end of the contract to sort of suffice, I guess, the compensation. We'll find out. Certainly.
Well, it makes sense for him because WWE does the same thing, right?
Yep.
And when they do that, obviously you got to make up for that time. You got to give back your time that you were out. But look, I mean, Kenny had an amazing run in New Japan. I mean, it's a thing of legend. You know what I'm saying? His matches with Okada, him in the G1, everything that he did over there was amazing. His stuff in AEW was important to wrestling. It was, whether we liked it or not. His contributions there, all of those guys that got that company started, it's important to wrestling. But I just think that if Kenny really wants to be in that conversation, that Roman Reigns conversation, Kenny needs to kind of go and take that next step and kind of try himself at that level. Because I'll tell you right now, if he goes there and they kind of, reel him back in a little bit, dude, he's going to be big. He's got all the tools. He can talk a line of shit. He can work. He's got a look. He's definitely going to have to slow down his style, which would be good for him because he can save it for big shows. But he's the type of person that's perfect for them. You know what I mean? He really, really is. So let's see how it plays out.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In other news here, Pat, again, take this with a grain of salt. As per WrestlingNews.com, apparently Triple H wants a smaller WrestleMania card. Thus, a lot of WWE talent is going to be unhappy about not being on the show. Again, take this with a grain of salt. It seems like WrestlingNews.com is being told that Triple H wants a smaller card this year, which means a lot of names that have been working on TV and live events throughout the year will be hanging out backstage during the show, again, allegedly. In prior years, there was an effort to include as many wrestlers on the card as possible. Of course, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal would be added to the card to at least give the undercard a chance to be featured on the show. According to WrestlingNews.com, they're being told that there will be no Battle Royal planned this year, and only a small handful of talent are being used for 2 evenings. There's a small amount, I guess, of unhappy talent, considering that the amount of slots is now being limited. I always laugh at this stuff, man, because who exactly in WrestlingNews.com is talking to somebody in WWE that's in the know already about what the card's going to look like for 2 nights? Now, again, off the top of my head, what we know thus far is we will have Cody Rhodes challenging the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, I think on night 2 in the main event that night. There's been some whispers and rumors that maybe Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens challenging the Usos will be the main event of night 1. Bianca Belair will be facing Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley will be challenging Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We don't know yet about the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. I mean, we'll see what happens this Monday between Becky and Lita against Dakota Kai and my girl, my future ex-wife, Io Sky. Absolutely. I'll tell you, you can garnish my wages with a baby after procreation for sure. I think that's thus far the card that I see. I'm assuming Austin Theory, from some rumors, will be facing John Cena for the U.S. Championship, for the coveted United States Heavyweight Championship. After John Cena's return in Boston in a couple weeks. It seems like whispers are Gunther, the reigning defending Intercontinental Champion, will defend against both Sheamus and Drew McIntyre.
Coveted
again,
Intercontinental Championship.
We coveted, yes, the illustrious Intercontinental Championship.
And the coveted SmackDown Women's Championship.
That's
And the
it.
coveted Raw Women's Championship. Because all those titles are coveted,
That's
aren't
right.
they? Not just the U.S. title.
Of course. Now, what that means about filling both nights, I mean, again, that's still a lot of matches already. Whether or not that means we're going to have a battle royal, whether or not we're going to have more singles matches, I don't know. But again, folks, it's like Mark's complaining for the sake of complaining is nothing new. Thus far, again, we've talked about how we want to grade Paul Levesque as the chief, I guess the chief content officer in WWE. He's been doing a great job. And the Marks are going to bitch and complain anyway. But I just think that what up to this point, what Paul Levesque has been doing, I think has been A grade, solid. Put the stickers on the refrigerator like we do with our kids after winning the spelling bee. That's how I would look at it. But Marks obviously need a reason to complain. These articles don't do anything to sort of, I guess, squash the fires of Marks complaining though.
I mean, as far as like shorter WrestleMania cards go, like I was talking to my buddy Marky about that, and he hates shorter wrestling cards. So I think that would be a huge, huge problem if we had shorter wrestling cards for both nights. Obviously, more talent needs to get out there. I don't know if they're going to include the prestigious Andre the Giant over the top rope, Memorial Battle Royal, Invitational Battle Royal. But maybe they will. Either way, Paul knows what the fuck he's doing. He understands exactly what the business is about, and he's going to put on a big, big show and a good show. Because remember, this is collectively our 39th WrestleMania, but for Triple H, it's his first WrestleMania, and you only get one first impression.
Yep.
So I think he's going to completely knock it out of the fucking park, Aaron Judge style, and I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, and he's going to continue to prove people wrong like he has his entire career.
No, he has, and I think that you look at Paul Levesque, and certainly I think since taking over late last summer, right before SummerSlam, I think you have seen the proof is in the pudding, folks. It's bearing fruit for many, many months now in terms of. And the Marks are going to complain anyway. I mean, obviously, you saw Twitter last week losing their minds.
I'm not a Mark, but I am going to say one thing. I'm not a Mark, but I am going to say this. Okay, I think that he's done a great job thus far, and I think that's how we should look at it between now and when his first full year is up. Because I'm not going to really give him a grade just yet. But I think he's trending in a really, really good direction. And I think that, the ceiling is very, very high for Triple H at this point. But, as you said, people will complain. People will complain about creative. People who like AEW are going to complain. And that just comes with the territory. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because more people watch WWE than AEW. So, I mean, who really gives a rat's ass what those 5 people are saying anyway?
Well, I'm with you. Again, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny about last week, even after the supposed rumors that Vince is having some input into creative, that Vince is back, and the Marks just lost their minds. The Marks lost their minds last week.
Well, of course, Michael Myers is back. The Boogeyman's back. To the Marks, collective Laurie Strode, he's back. He's back. I saw the shape. He's moving. I saw the walk. No! So the Marks are freaking out. They're freaking out. But look, man, it's this fucking company. It's his company. Of course he's going to be around. And the product is still good. I mean, why are people acting like, look, obviously people didn't like a certain number of years worth of his product, right? Because maybe they felt like it wasn't for them or it was insulting their intelligence, even though the whole action of wrestling is pretty fucking insulting to your intelligence. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just because you didn't like a small portion doesn't mean that the overall larger body of work from Vince wasn't great. Because again, I challenge all you Marks. Go in your closet. Go in your drawers. Go look around at all your gimmicks that you have, all your wrestling gimmicks. They're all Vince McMahon properties. They're all Vince McMahon ideas. You know what I mean? he is the kingpin of the wrestling business.
No,
he's always going to be around for good or ugly,
Absolutely. And speaking about the product still being good, let's get to the ratings this week here. Last week, Raw did a little over 2 million, up about 196,000 at 2.006 million. Obviously, we'll find out tomorrow night. Obviously, the road to WrestleMania continues. Compelling stuff over the weekend. What happened with SmackDown? For the rest of February, obviously, it was up from the previous week at 1.81. In the beginning of February, 1.87. Thus far, though, Pat, in 2023, we've had 3 out of the 8 Raws thus far of this year have broken 2 million. Certainly, as we get closer to WrestleMania, that number is going to grow. Certainly, again, no NFL anymore on Monday nights. Yeah, the conference games are heating up, obviously in the NCAA, NBA, NHL. Push for the playoffs is coming. Let's go Devils, by the way. Nice SmackDown against Philadelphia last night.
Fuck the Flyers.
7-0 on the commemorative 20th anniversary of the last Stanley Cup the Devils had. Hopefully we'll see another cup this year.
Nice to see Scotty Stevens holding up that cup, man.
That's right. Good to see that. Good to see a lot of those people. And again,
man.
It broke my heart not to see it. Listen, it was touching to see Pat Burns' widow walk out with Scott Stevens with the cup. Pat Burns, obviously, we know lost his life to cancer, I believe, in 2010. But an exceptional coach 20 years ago and winning that cup. So there's a lot of stuff to watch on Mondays, obviously.
Yeah.
The Voice returned on NBC, a lot of shows, whatever. But Raw's still doing well. And again, as we get closer to WrestleMania, Pat, it'll be to something. Again, I think the marks that complain a lot on Twitter or social media or everything else, I think we have to sort of get past the notion. And I think that last week's, again, sort of going back to the biography about the NWO, the Attitude Era was a different time in television consumption. The idea that shows are going to be doing 3+ million, maybe 4. I mean, again, the way we consume television, Pat, is different. It doesn't mean that Raw's not good. It's still going to be 2-something million. Again, a little low. I think at the end of January, it was at 2. I think the highest it's peaked this year thus far is 2.34 million on January 23rd. That's been the highest peak this year. I think the lowest thus far was on January 2nd, right after New Year's, the New Year's Day. Obviously we had the NCAA college football championship game. Obviously that had something to do, even though it was a blowout, that was the low point for a while this year at 1.605. So, as we get closer to WrestleMania in April on 1st and 2nd, we're going to be seeing 2.2, 2.3, maybe 2.5s. The idea that we're going to get back to 3, 3.2, 3.4, even highest 3.5 or higher. Again, I'm not shitting on the product. That's just the reality of television, bro. Yeah. We're not going to get back to that. Again, it's not a slight on the product. It's not a slight on Raw or what's going on with wrestling. We're just consuming wrestling differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think that a lot of things have happened since that time. You have, UFC that's kind of come around. You have Bellator. You have other wrestling companies. There's 1,000,001 different things that have been going on since then. So I mean, for us to think that we're ever going to get back to that, it's a little ridiculous. But
and also too, don't forget we got Power Slap. Okay, don't forget
you're marked for Power Slap, huh? You're a big Power Slap mark. Or what?
Listen, bro. Do we not watch stupid shit? Do we not watch Sharknado movies?
You're right.
Are there people that watch stupid shit every day? They watch Don Lemon in the morning on CNN.
You're right.
Fernando at night on MS. So people, there's an affinity for stupid television consumption all the time. So I think that, listen, again, as we get
there's people watching stupid shit right now.
Well, I think our program is exceptional, but that's me. So
yes, no, I think our program is exceptional too. Yeah. I'm just breaking balls, but
I just think that as we get closer to Mania, it'll be back up to 2 something like it always is.
Yeah.
The idea, Raw's not any good. That's why it's not doing well. Folks, Raw could be, you could have a marathon of Johnny Gargano fighting the Gauntlet tournament. And you could have Candice LeRae fighting a Gauntlet tournament on Raw. and that will still draw better than AEW on Wednesdays.
Well, they're decent workers. They're decent workers, but you're right about. I mean, they could do Omos against the Great Khali in a half-hour Iron Man match, and that shit's still gonna draw a fucking number, no matter how disastrous the future needs to be.
Don't even tempt. Don't put any ideas into Paul's head, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I hope Triple H, if you're listening by chance, even though you're not like Tony Mark, you have a life. I mean Tony Khan, excuse me, Tony Mark. Look at that one, Snowman. You know what I'm talking about.
You mentioned Omos. Yeah, obviously another possible, not a possibility. I think it's already kind of maybe etched in stone. It'll be Omos and Brock Lesnar. I gotta tell you, man, and we'll break down Mania as we get closer to it. That's a match I'm not looking forward to. But again,
I'm looking forward to it, dude. How are you not looking forward to it? Dude. These are two big motherfuckers going at it, and Brock is a brute and an animal. Imagine Brock German suplexing Omos.
That's what I'm saying.
Him up for the F5.
I feel bad about that ring collapsing. Like it could be. But who knows? But let's switch our attentions to the SmackDown ratings. Still very good, man. Obviously, we know how compelling it's been with the deterioration allegedly of the bloodline. Certainly, looking at these numbers last week, again, we don't have the numbers from this past weekend yet. They're not available, but thus far for February, 2.38 on February 17th, 2.46 on February 10th, 2.384, 2.5, 2.25, 2.32, 2.25. I mean, I think really the low point this year for SmackDown, I mean, not to split hairs, but if we're doing the math, really the low point was the first Friday of January. It was a 2.257. So not, again, it's still a very good number for Fox and prime time on a Friday. But it's still solid ratings. We saw the way SmackDown ended on Friday. Again, that dissension that exists still in the bloodline. Roman Reigns will return next Friday, maybe to establish some order in the bloodline to see what's going on. We see the conflict within Jey Uso, who decided with Sami Zayn or his brother Jimmy and Solo Sikoa. Again, solid numbers on SmackDown, man. No surprise again as we get closer to WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that they're adding all these different layers to, really the biggest storyline in the business, the most compelling story in the business. And they're going to continue to generate those numbers. Everything is just coming together perfectly for them. Not only that, but you got a guy like Gunther who just every week is just legitimizing himself more and more. And I mean, I see nothing but upward growth every time I watch SmackDown. Like when I try to watch it from a wrestling perspective or a wrestler's perspective or a booker or whatever, somebody who's behind the curtain, I look at it and I just see growth, constant growth. Sometimes a little slower than others, but growth every single time for a lot of characters and a lot of the featured characters. I thought the Judgment Day stuff was great, whether it was Ray and Dom, that feud kind of heating up. Charlotte having the quick line, the line with Dom, about how she has a real Latino man at home, all this stuff that was going on, like just really, really good stuff. Her and Rhea in the ring.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And I think that everything is just still trending up more and more. For me, the Judgment Day are probably like the bloodline of the mid card. Like they're that group that's like really got an interesting thing going across the board for the mid card. So, yeah, man, I just see nothing but growth there, and those numbers do not surprise me whatsoever.
No, absolutely. Again, SmackDown has a lot of compelling characters, Gunther and Imperium. And by the way, bro, we talked about it off the air, and I know a lot of marks go crazy on social media about Samantha Urban. I think she is a national treasure. I could have this woman recite the alphabet for me. I could have this woman recite the periodic table and tell me the atomic number and the atomic mass number for every element, and it would be glorious. I love her as an announcer. I think the emphasis she puts into every announcement, I think she makes every entrance compelling. It's as simple as that. And I think that's what you want. And, obviously on SmackDown, especially with the great ratings it's getting and the great characters that it has as well. Moving on to Wednesday nights, AEW Dynamite this past week for the first time in about, literally a full calendar month. It broke 1 million, 1.028. Obviously, I think Tony Khan getting a little bit smarter, waiting for that announcement towards more the end of the show. Maybe sort of build some anticipation. Another letdown of an announcement. I mean, I wasn't let down seeing Adam Cole, baby, on my television screen. Obviously, his return is imminent on AEW Dynamite, so I'm marking out. I don't give a fuck. I couldn't find my Adam Cole shirt for the show today. Otherwise, I would have worn it, but I'll find it in my closet. Again, 1.028. Some of the matches weren't spectacularly – weren't very inspiring to me. I get it. Moxley and I forgot who his opponent was. Jesus. Oh, Evil Uno. A lot of stuff's been made on social media this past week, man, from Disco Inferno, making reference to Evil Uno's physique or lack thereof. Moxley bleeding again. Hangman Page's save at the end of the match, the new theme music. It just seemed like a very convoluted Dynamite, and I get it that Tony Khan's big announcement was the premiere coming up. Obviously, Power Slap to the title. I think the season finale is this Wednesday, and obviously, as we get towards Revolution, we will be seeing AEW All Access. I think, for lack of a better word, it's probably no different than what WWE does. Maybe in-depth interviews. It's going to feature, I believe, one episode is going to feature Adam Cole's journey during this concussion protocol. What he's gone through physically. I think Britt Baker, is featured in one. I think there's some other stars that are featured. I mean, you like to kind of humanize these characters a little bit. I'm not opposed to the show on AEW, obviously following on TBS after Dynamite, but another letdown because you're thinking, oh, maybe it's a free agent signing. Maybe it's a new championship being unveiled. God help us. I don't know. It seemed like, okay, Tony's being smart. He's leaving the announcement towards the end, right before the main event. Keep people glued to the TVs. But still, dude, only 1.028, a bump of about 204,000 from the week before. Right after Valentine's Day, 824,000. The week before, 900,000. The week before that, 901,000. So really, again, in the 8 weeks of Dynamite in this year, only 2 weeks at a little over. And again, it's not just like, oh, it's 1.1 million, 1.2 million. No, dude, it's like barely 1 million. Again, nothing to brag about, but if you're an AEW fan, you have to brag about something.
I mean, I've said it before. Whenever they promote stuff, they usually get 1 million. The number that they got is probably a direct result of CM Punk's fans tuning in to see if he was going to come back. Because that makes sense, between them kind of losing fans, gaining fans, losing fans, gaining fans. Maybe a lot of the Punk fans tuned in because they thought, they would announce him. The All Access show, I think, is good. I think that's something that they should have done a long time ago. They should have covered the entire process of when the company started and where they got to now. And they should have been doing that a long time ago to kind of help grow those characters, kind of help people gravitate towards them because the average casual viewer doesn't really know them, like you're watching that product because you're a mark, Adam Cole doing it, I think is okay, but Adam Cole, they kind of killed it, bro.
Yeah.
Like he's been announcing that he's coming back for like weeks now. It's like RNN, but it's like not funny. You know what I'm saying? And a guy like Adam Cole, who some people see as a main eventer, Adam Cole, you should have announced a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Like you should have actually had him like announce like when he's coming back, or like not even announce when he's coming back. Have him like just come back instead of announcing it. Instead of talking about it for weeks or months.
The premiere of the show. Yeah, he's coming back. I think after Revolution.
Okay, but like, all right, fine, you're hyping this up, but like you botched this guy's like return. You botched his debut. You know what I'm saying? If this is a guy that some people see as a main eventer, if they see him that way, right? Because he was main event when he was developmental champ, and he did all right there. He did the job well. He didn't generate good numbers. He's not a main event guy in that sense, but I don't know. I just feel like Tony Khan drops the ball every time. But I think this All Access show might be something to help Adam Cole kind of become a sympathetic babyface. I was talking to a friend of mine, Street Tough Murph Gunderson, the last of the legitimate barroom tough guys, and he was kind of speculating that it might be seizures that Adam Cole might be having, and maybe that's why he hasn't been cleared to wrestle yet. So we don't know just yet. But can I ask you a question? And
Sure.
This is, again, I know we talk about this quite often, but what is the appeal of Adam Cole? Like, what is the thing about Adam Cole? Because I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, man, I mean, again, I think I'll do my best to summarize this, I think, without being overly biased and everything. But I just think that it's a guy who we know is not relatively tall. He's not relatively muscular, but he's been a good worker. I think he's been a better talker than I think you give him credit for. But again, maybe I just like his promo style. I would just say that I think that he resonates, I think, to a lot of regular guys that look at Adam Cole because he's not overly menacing. He doesn't have like this overwhelming physique. I think we've talked about it right off the air. Like, hey, listen, could he use a cycle or two? Definitely. Could he hit the gym more? Certainly. Again, there's been some dispute about how tall he is, right? 6 feet to 5'8" to 5'9".
He's like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, you met. We're 5'9", so I mean, obviously, but you look at Adam Cole, and I just think he's been like this guy that I think just resonates with regular guys that are trying to be wrestlers, and I think that's where the affinity is. I think you look at someone like Adam Cole, he's like, hey, he's like a regular guy that's trying to, I guess, make it in the business, and he's been at it for a long time. Now, to your point, often when you say, well, you know what, his act is getting stale, you need to change up your hair, maybe cut your hair, cut your beard. I think that's what's gotten him over with audiences. Now, again, small audiences, certainly. Is it something that's going to give him – again, listen, one of the things that I would say is, during, I think, the 2019 era when NXT was invading Raw and SmackDown, we had that great Survivor Series PLE where NXT was involved in all the Survivor Series matches. And I think, there was some – travel issue, I think, coming back from, I think, Crown Jewel. I don't recall exactly what it was, but they brought in Adam Cole to, I believe, take on Daniel Bryan on a SmackDown. Great pop. Again, I think it was upstate New York, so it is New York, so a lot of marks.
White Plains, mark territory.
And, obviously they featured him on television. Great match with Bryan Danielson. Who wouldn't have a great match with Bryan Danielson, certainly. A guy that, just there's something likable about him because he's doing the most with what he can and he's limited, as opposed to guys that have the look, right? The guy that you would be scared of walking down an alley. You look at Karrion Kross and he's convincing because you'd almost be scared of running into him in a dark alley. You can't say that about Adam Cole. Okay. You can't say that about Austin Jenkins. Okay, like you look at him and you're like, he's not particularly menacing. He's just, to me, he's been entertaining. That's what I watch pro wrestling for. It's not for everybody. Certainly, I think we saw what Tony Khan was trying to do when Hangman Page was champion. He put him in the main event program for a couple of months with Hangman. He was challenging for the title. I think a very uninspiring program with Hangman Page. I don't know who to blame there, but I would say that, hey, it seems like MJF is going to retain at Revolution in San Francisco. Maybe a good way to bring back Adam Cole is to have him challenge MJF. I think the promo work would be funny. I think it'd be great. I think MJF would shoot on him, call him Shorty Rock, Cheeky. Well, maybe not call him Cheeky Dean because he's not bilingual, for all I know. But that's what I've liked about Adam Cole. He's been entertaining to me. Granted, not to a huge audience, but he's been entertaining from his Ring of Honor days to New Japan to NXT. Not now. I think Tony Khan has dropped the ball on him immensely. I hope he can get back to being relevant. I don't know if that's going to happen in AEW, though.
We'll see. I don't get it, but I see a potential there for sure. I just think that he's kind of at that point where like Rollins was for a little bit for me, or like Sammy or Kevin, where like they needed to find that thing. Like, he can go. His style is it's not believable at all. It's not for a guy his size. You could compare him to Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson's style is believable. It's very realistic. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. But I think if at this point for AEW, between this All Access show, it would kind of help them to make him a sympathetic babyface. It really, really would, because they need one. They need one because MJF, his shtick's getting tired. It's not. I'll tell you right now, MJF could do with going to the Performance Center. Seriously.
Yeah.
He really could. He really could. He could do with going to the Performance Center, because I think that they would help him evolve his game. And that's not a knock against him, because the guy's immensely talented. He's doing tremendous stuff right now.
No,
but
absolutely.
The shtick's a little tired. The cheap heat, you can only do it for so long. And it's just like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go next?
Yeah.
Where are we going to take it? No,
that's certainly fair. Our main event topic this week, folks, and I think all of you are going to get quite a chuckle here, as the PBR Superstar and the Professor are going to break down the nonsense known as the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. Yes, they were released this week, folks. They are voted on by the Wrestling Observer Newsletter premium subscribers. I can't believe adult men, maybe some women, spend $11.99 a month subscribing to this gibberish, but nonetheless, according to estimates, anywhere between 90 to 95,000 subscribers are evident right now in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Again, I could be wrong, folks. I looked up that number before, looking at really, just astronomical what Dave Meltzer's making annually. If this is his only source of income, the idea that there are that many gullible Americans, or even people globally, that pay $12 a month to subscribe to this, it's scary. Again, I know people will say, well, Fernando, it must be good if people subscribe to it. And I don't like that rationalization, because people watch CNN and MSNBC. That doesn't mean it's very good. Obviously, ratings tell you that. Other than, being on in airports and barbershops and salons and gyms, what are you really getting out of that? But the point is, folks, that the Observer Newsletter Awards this week were released. I know we're waiting to get Pat back on the screen. D, did he log off, or is he just off the screen temporarily?
Off the screen for a little bit.
Okay, cool. Okay. So we'll sort of break this down. Okay, cool. All right. No, Pat, as I was saying, obviously, scary that adult males and some females, that there are that many gullible Americans and maybe people globally that pay $12 a month to subscribe to this.
I heard all that stuff, and I agree with you. It's pretty fucking pathetic. But you got to give Meltzer credit, because he cornered the market. Okay, I'm not going to be a player hater right now. I'm not.
No, listen.
I'll save that for the award categories, but still, like,
no. And again, and again, when you think about, again, and just to scare our audience a little bit, we're talking about, again, the last number I looked at, it could be off. Let's just say it is 95,000 subscribers at $12 a pop. We're talking about 1.1 million a month. You multiply that in a calendar year, we're talking about almost $14 million that he is grossing with subscribers. Again, whether or not he's really making $13.68 million, you're paying production, you're paying talent, whatever. Well, not talent.
And he still dresses like a bum.
And he's well, a lot of millionaires don't dress very, lavishly, I guess, but
Vince
again,
does.
What's that?
Vince does.
Correct. Well, I'm saying a lot do. Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, these awards, I gotta tell you. So the subscribers voted on. Let's start off with best pro wrestling documentary. At number 3, Tales from the Territories. Number 2, Dangerous Breed, Crime, Cons, Cats, Teddy Hart. And number 1 was Tales from the Territories. Interesting. Certainly, best pro wrestling book. At number 3, Dynamite and Davey by Stephen Bell. There's Just One Problem by Brian Gerwitz. And at number 1, Blood and Fire by Brian Solomon. Worst gimmicks. Number 3, Kip Sabian. Number 2, Uncle Howdy. Number 1 was Maximum Male Models.
Number 1 should have been AEW.
Yeah, I'm not going to bore you. Folks. I'm not going to bore you folks with these sort of numbers like the vote totals. I mean, I don't unless you're really curious, Pat. But best gimmick, this is just egregious. Number 3, Danhausen. Number 2, The Acclaimed. Number 1, Sami Zayn. No disagreement there. Promoter
The Bloodline.
Well, Bloodline. I believe Bloodline was number 4 on the list.
Hold on a second. Time out. I got 2 remaining. Danhausen. Let me get this straight. Danhausen, according to these people, is a better gimmick than the Bloodline.
It shows the collective lack of awareness. I think that Wrestling Observer premium subscribers have to even click a mouse and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going. Like, it's weird because AEW marks are so tribal too and defensive, because when you go on a lot of these wrestling sites on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of the fans that are defending these choices get super defensive.
They need to acknowledge the tribal chief if they're tribal.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of oxymoronic, when you think about it. The Acclaimed, again, we'll talk about them a little bit later. Obviously, they're another category. But Sami Zayn, I think, without question, has been absolutely gold. To have the Bloodline lower, it should have been the Bloodline. I mean, yes, Sami Zayn deserves that number 1 spot, but I think collectively, if you're going to use it, it should be the whole Bloodline in general. But that's just me, Pat.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair, because Sami is an extension of the Bloodline gimmick. And for all the people that say, oh, well, Sami, he's the top gimmick. He's the guy that got himself. He wouldn't be over if it wasn't for the Bloodline, though. Correct. He was over in his own way. Don't get me wrong. But, like, to be considered for a main event with the top star in the company, it's a direct byproduct of that Bloodline story.
Oh, absolutely. Again, more egregious awards here. Promoter of the Year at number 3, Rossi Ogawa. Number 2, Dana White. And at number 1, Anthony Khan. Awful. Best Booker. Best Booker at number 3, Paul Levesque. At number 2, Rossi Ogawa. And at number 1 for the 3rd consecutive year, just like Promoter of the Year, Anthony Khan wins Best Booker, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Worst Promotion of the Year at number 3, Control Your Narrative. At number 2, NWA. I don't know. That's kind of insulting. I think NWA is not as bad as make it out to be, especially with the reigning and defending NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the co-host of Gutfeld on Fox News, Tyrus. I think that's a great and at number 1, the worst promotion in 2022, World Wrestling Entertainment. I mean, just utter nonsense.
Get the fuck out of here. And I don't mean to curse, but get the fuck out of here.
Correct. It gets worse, guys. Worst feud of the year. At number 3, Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. At number 2, Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan. And at number 1, The Miz versus Dexter Lumis. We'll move on to some other categories, but let's digest a couple of the ones I just said here. Pat, what's the most insulting and egregious right now?
First of all, I mean, all of those 3 worst feuds generated higher viewership than all of AEW's programming put together. Okay? So I'd rather be in a shitty WWE segment than a good or 5-star AEW segment that Dave Meltzer likes.
You saw what Mike Tyson said.
What did he say?
He said AEW pays more money, but he'd rather fucking go to WWE events.
Wow. That's something. Yeah, because he had Undertaker on recently on his podcast on Hot Boxing.
Yep.
I think he did. Yeah. So I mean, bro, like, look, all of this stuff it's blatantly obvious. Like, this is all AEW fans, dude. This is all Meltzer's base. They love this shit. They live for this shit. They're not gonna put over anything logically. Okay, they're not. I think we all have our own fandoms sometimes that might be misplaced. Like, for example, Man United today. I'm very happy that they won this cup. But, like, I'm realistic to understand that there's still other trophies to play for. There's still bigger titles to win. There's still more improvement that the squad needs to have to get to that next level. I'm not going to go out there and say that they're the fucking winners of the Champions League, even though they're not in it, or that they're going to win every fucking trophy. They're the greatest team in the history of the fucking world. No. because I can have that awareness to look at something and say, okay, this is trending in a good direction, but it doesn't mean that we're there yet. AEW fans cannot do that. The fact that you have WWE as the worst promotion of the year, when they've generated more money, more viewership, they're just fucking bigger. They're a global product. They're the big company in the world. I mean, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, and Pat, and to compound the problem too is that WWE, according to, again, for someone that gets the emails about stocks and sort of the shares and everything, WWE reported once again, I think for the fourth consecutive quarter, record profits. Like we saw what the gate was for Survivor Series War Games. We saw what the gate was for Clash at the Castle, the traffic, the views, the interaction, the merch sales. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me to think that a company that is and again, with Vince returning, certainly the stock went up again, thank the Lord, because it kind of been tanking a little bit. I mean, those are things that are important to me. But again, quarter after quarter after quarter, WWE continues to be profitable. I mean, whether it's merch, whether it is in advertising. I mean, you're not seeing mom and pop shops advertising on Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. I mean, we're talking about legitimate national, international brands, consumer brands that are advertising with WWE. So the idea that it's not making money, the idea that it's like, if that's the worst promotion, what they should do is then take the business model, go to Harvard Business School or go to any Rutgers Business School, go to any business program, undergrad or grad, okay, in this country, and do just a PowerPoint about how Vince McMahon and thus now Nick Khan, Stephanie McMahon, and Paul Levesque are running WWE, right? Well, maybe not Stephanie. I think it's true that she stepped down or whatever after Vince, resumed certain, I think ownership or control of it. Like, do a PowerPoint presentation about how that company's run. And I think every business student will be like, okay, this is a good blueprint. So if that's the worst promotion, I mean, then then what are we talking about here? Then logically, what are we talking about? What's good business?
I mean, AEW sells $600 belts, man.
Oh, look at that, I mean, again, it's like we all have our own fandom. Fern, you love the Cowboys.
Check your messages, D. Check your messages, D.
I mean, Fern, like you love the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? But you can be objective about where the Cowboys are at. You can be honest about where the Cowboys are at, and you can articulate that. And I just think that a lot of these fans, if you're trying to sway people to your side, if you're trying to get people to say, hey, you know what, let me give AEW a look, this isn't really the way to do it. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, look, this stuff means a lot to the marks. It means a lot to a lot of Meltzer's followers. And I think it's
very one-sided bias, though, PVR.
Yeah, but I mean, like, bro, that's what they pay for. It's
saying that the E is the worst federation.
I mean, look, you got to understand the criteria of the fan base. Okay, they like the marquee shit, and I'm not talking about breakdancing and short jokes. I'm talking about like they like the real marquee style wrestling. You know what I'm saying? They like the 97 flips, no psychology. They like the Japanese wrestler that shoe fights. They like the forearm exchanges. They like the cheap heat. They like all that stuff. They like indie wrestling. That's what they like. And what they like is a niche product. And it's not something that's going to be able to be, marketed and produced for a mass audience. It's just not. It's not palatable, And, I look, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I give Tony Khan a lot of credit, man. What he did, he played a part in wrestling history, doing what he's doing right now. He's
stealing a fucking federation from Cody.
Well, but you know what? I mean, he financed a lot of that, dude. He was the guy. He was the money guy, and I'm not gonna say on what he should or shouldn't have done, but I just say this much: this guy was a billionaire who took his money, who decided to get into the wrestling business, who employed wrestlers, women, men. Employed referees, employed talent, employed production people, employed all different types of people, okay? And gave them a place to go that wasn't WWE, that wasn't Impact, that wasn't New Japan, that had a national TV deal. And we're on prime time. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you can't take anything away from them. You know what I'm saying? And you can't say anything too bad about what he's done. But again, you have to be realistic, and you have to kind of look at it and you kind of have to say, okay, this isn't really what we think it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy though, because again, the bias is so overwhelming. And I get it that, again, listen, I'm not trying to come off as a snobby academic, but it makes me wonder about the functional IQ of a lot of these subscribers with the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Like, how, if you have eyes, again, if you have a functional IQ and you have a set of eyes that are not faulty, that you don't need to go to an optometrist, or you don't, or let's say you're not cognitively declining like the President of the United States, like, how do you conceptualize that WWE is the worst promotion, or that Tony Khan as a promoter is, again, the best promoter? I said this off the air with D before we went on today. Like, and I get this all the time with my group chat with my friends from grad school. Like, Tony Khan, again, and this is stuff you can Google, folks. Like, to utilize a facility to host an event, okay? Case in point, again, every venue's different, every state's different, who knows? But let's just say, for the sake of argument, because I did look this up. Last year, Vince McMahon, going into, I believe, 2021, had to pay somewhere between, I think, almost $500,000 to $750,000 to purchase the facility, to rent the facility fee to host WrestleMania in Cowboy Stadium for 2 nights. So essentially, he gave Jerry Jones $2 million because that's what the facility fee is. Okay. Now, every venue is different, right? Stadiums and arenas. Okay. Tony Khan, vis-a-vis his father, own an NFL stadium. Now, again, it's one of the smaller stadiums in North America, because if you look at TIAA Bank Ballpark in Jacksonville, it's roughly a little over 70,000 capacity.
Damn.
AEW is years from even thinking about filling a stadium with any card they put together. I know friends of mine that went to Heavy Machinery or whatever it was, Top Gun, wherever it was at Prudential Center last November, okay? And I know people that took pictures, and I saw it on my social media. For those of us that go to Prudential, often as Big Devil fans, what the building looks like. Most of the upper tier at Prudential Center was blacked out. When you looked at the pictures on social media from Grand Slam, not just this year, but last year, 2022 and 2021, a lot of the upper tier was blacked out. So the idea that if Tony Khan is the best promoter, then someone explain to me how the best promoter finds it difficult to sell out buildings. Listen, when AEW was in Philadelphia, I think late last year for a Dynamite, they didn't go to the Wells Fargo Center. Now, again, maybe the Wells Fargo Center has a contract with WWE. We don't know that. They had to end up doing their show at the arena where the Temple Owls play basketball. Again, shout out to Temple Owls. Nice program. I applied there for grad school. Great university. But that building can barely house almost 10,000 people, and they barely sold it out. So how are you the best promoter when your product can't even fill an NFL? And again, it's one of the smaller ballparks in North America. There are bigger NFL stadiums. Where we live right here, MetLife can house about 84,000 to 85,000 people. I was there for WrestleMania in 2019. Okay. Cowboy Stadium holds 100,000 people, whatever. What does it say when Tony Khan can't even fill major arena? We'll find out in San Francisco next Sunday at the Chase Center. We'll find out whether or not that building's sold out. It's California. A lot of West Coast marks might go, whatever.
He's selling seats to black sheets.
I mean, well, basically.
Oh my God!
But how are you the promoter of the year when you can't sell out buildings? It's and you ask this to an AEW fan. Well, it's not about sellouts. Well, what is it about then?
Yeah, but again, Fern, it goes back to this. These are people who do not know the wrestling business. It's like they don't understand how it works. Just because you like it doesn't mean that it's good. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand there's a niche audience for certain things. All right. Now, look, anybody who knows me knows I love death metal. I love black metal. I love punk rock. I understand that that's not going to be Taylor Swift level. You know what I mean? I understand that that's not even going to be as big as your buddy Michael Bublé there. Okay. It's a niche audience, and it's something that's there for small groups of people who really appreciate it. And that's fine. But I'm never going to say that like death metal musicians are, the best musician, or this singer's the best singer because I like it. No, I'm going to be realistic about what it is, and I'm going to dissect it accordingly. A lot of these people cannot do this because they're marks, and this hokey fucking bullshit ass fucking awards that they came up with here. Well, I mean, we got to give something to guys. We got great stars out there in business. Okada is a top star. I really think that Sammy should have gone over in Montreal. All the metrics were there to prove it. And he was saying that, all that stuff, Dave Meltzer. But it's fucking unrealistic. Can we hear some more of this nonsense? By the way?
Sure.
I really would like to.
Worst match of the year at number 3, Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi. Number 2, Ric Flair and Andrade versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal in Ric Flair's last match. And number 1, Pat McAfee versus Vince McMahon. Now, I will say this. I was one of those that complained about that match because I said, okay, after the great program that Austin Theory and McAfee had for months, Theory, the insufferable heel, antagonizing him, hiding behind Mr. McMahon. McAfee couldn't really do anything. It was sort of like, it was like the chicken shit heel hiding behind, I don't know, the school principal or something, when the kid that wanted to sort of get revenge on him had to scratch and claw and struggle. Great. McAfee got the win. A wonderful WrestleMania moment. Did we really have to see Vince McMahon get in the ring and take a horrible stunner? Like, I don't want to say the marks are right here, but I could have done without that shit last year. Like, there was no need for Vince to get in the ring. It was embarrassing. He's never taken a stunner well. 30 years later, he took probably the worst of all time. I get it. You want to get Austin. You could have gotten Austin in the ring to go after Vince and give him the stunner and do whatever he wanted to do with Austin Theory and McMahon just jumping McAfee after McAfee got the win. That was a great WrestleMania moment for McAfee. But then to lose to Vince, bro, I'm sorry. I will forever, I'll plant a flag on, and I'll die on hell on that. There was no need to see Vince in the ring. There really wasn't in a match, bro. There really wasn't.
Nah, it was so awful. You still kept watching. You still keep watching.
But it doesn't mean it's good. Woo!
That's who. That's who, because numbers indicate otherwise.
But Pat,
social media interaction indicates otherwise.
Because it was awful. That stunner was disgusting.
But it's Vince McMahon. People are going to talk about him. People are going to say stuff about him. I mean, come on, you're not going to put this guy out there. And it was also to my understanding that they were making a documentary about him, and that was mainly for the documentary. You know what I mean? So, look, man, there's a reason why they do it. The fans loved it. I was happy as hell to see Vince take another shitty stunner. Hadn't seen that in a minute, so it was cool. And, it is what it is, man. It's all a part of the business. I mean, again, people are always going to talk about Vince. Always, man.
No, I get it.
And he's a smart dude. He's the smartest dude probably ever in the history of the biz.
He's one of the smartest. He's one of the smartest businessmen globally. Never mind wrestling. He's one of the smartest businessmen globally in any industry, medicine, business, pharmaceuticals, whatever. He's one of the greatest of all time. One of the smartest business. Again, if business schools were smart, now that Vince maybe isn't as active of a role, maybe within the company itself, bro, hire Vince as a guest speaker. He may not do it, but try. Bring him in and have him talk to business students, whether it's Stanford all the way out in California to Rutgers Business to Harvard. Bro, like University of Chicago Business School. Like, we're talking about like the prestigious business school. Like, look at Vince as a resource. He's, again, one of the best businessmen ever. Continuing on, worst television show at number 3, NWA Power. It was interesting. Number 4 was Rampage. More on that, why it's so oxymoronic. Number 3, NWA Power. Number 2, NXT. Worst television show of 2022, Monday Night Raw. To these marks, not a surprise with Wrestling Observer. Most disgusting promotional tactic. Number 3, Ric Flair's last match. don't disagree with that per se because of what we ended up seeing. But this is where the marks show their colors. Number 2, WWE's continued business relationship with the government of Saudi Arabia. And at number 1, the most disgusting promotional tactic award goes to Vince McMahon appearing on television for a crowd pop shortly after the Wall Street Journal broke the news about several sexual misconduct allegations being published last summer. The marks really got their panties in a bunch.
Hey, Dave. Can we cue the Halloween theme song? Can we play that? Can we maybe play a little bit of the Halloween theme song because he's back again, the boogeyman, the shape, to haunt the mark. He's such a horrible person. He's such a piece of shit, Vince McMahon. He's so awful. Let me tell you something. If these people really hate Vince, if they really hate WWE as much as they say they do,
don't subscribe.
Stop watching.
Don't subscribe.
Stop watching.
Don't buy merch.
Stop watching. They hated it so much that they watched it and they voted for it. That's how
exactly. It's awful. Best maneuver, number 3, Kenny Omega's One Wing Angel. Number 2, Hangman Adam Page's Buckshot Lariat. And number 1, Will Ospreay with the Hidden Blade. I don't disagree.
What a maneuver! I don't. Whatever. This is just some Mark bullshit.
I get it. I get it.
This whatever.
Worst pay-per-view, number 3, GCW's The World. Number 2, Elimination Chamber 2022. And the worst show of 2022 was the Royal Rumble. That's just asinine. As opposed to best major show at number 3, WrestleMania Night 1. Number 2, AEW Revolution. And number 1, the best major pay-per-view of 2022, The Forbidden Door.
Ooh.
Just thoughts, Pat?
Mark, bro. Like
that's
this is so Mark centric, bro. It's Mark centric. It's like I went to see Quantum Mania with the kids on Friday night. Okay, this sounds like it was in the quantum realm. Like this is wrestling from the quantum realm. It really deep in the fucking quantum realm. It doesn't sound like it is a part of reality.
No, it's not.
It sounds crazy. Crazy.
Not. Moving on to other awards here. Worst television announcer at number 3, Jim Ross. At number 2, Booker T. At number 1, Corey Graves. Disagree.
Totally.
How Excalibur is not on here, realistically, like in the real world, not
Tony
Earth,
Schiavone.
like not Earth and Avatar, not Middle Earth.
Schiavone should be on there too.
Yeah, not Middle Earth where Kong and Godzilla had their origins, right? No, like the idea that Corey Graves, I get it. Corey Graves is, and we talked about it out here. He's trying too hard to be like, sort of like Bobby Heenan 2.0. I get all that, but to call him the worst announcer, I think is
no. He's not. I don't think so. I mean, again, I think he just needs to change the shtick up, because everybody did. Lawler did, Ventura did, Heenan. You know what I'm saying? All these guys changed the shtick up after a while.
He might not have time, bro, because he's got a hot wife.
I know it's actually number 4 was Kevin Patrick. I don't disagree. We've talked about it often. Kevin Patrick does nothing for me on Monday nights. It is painful listening to him.
What is he supposed to do for you? Do you want him to get you pizza? Like I don't understand.
I think because we've been preconditioned for a quarter century to what Michael Cole has been. I think to some extent, maybe I'm not saying that's the end all be all. But it's very uninspiring, dude. And it's not because I hate Irish people or I hate Irish immigrants. It's nothing of that. It's none of that nonsense. But it's just there's something very blah. It's not particularly like say what you want about Vic Joseph. Vic Joseph has dramatically improved as a lead play-by-play person. Right. Again, maybe they'll give Kevin Patrick some time, but I got to tell you, man, I was surprised Well, I mean, not surprised to see him on that list because he's not very good. But you're right, though. Maybe because we've been preconditioned to Michael Cole for 25 years, that's the end all be all. I'm not saying that either. But Kevin Patrick on Raw, man, I'm sorry. Not that the previous the Joe Rogan 2.0 guy was any better, but I'm sorry, dude. Like,
I think he's better than faux Rogan. I think he is. I think he's better. Honestly, I think he's better. And again, I think he's a good worker. And bro, he's a guy who's just narrating it. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not really there to provide too much insight, too much wit. He's earned his place in the company.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Cole once upon a time started on commentary too. And Michael Cole gets a lot of shit, but Michael Cole does a really good job of what he does, man. I mean, look, nobody's ever going to be another Jim Ross. That's inevitable. JR's a one-off. You know what I'm saying? But I think that give him a little time. Let's see where the guy goes. I think he's doing okay. But I definitely think that Graves could do a little, kind of needs to evolve because he's at that point now where he's had the same shtick and it's been good. It's been effective going back to NXT. I mean, he was awesome, but change is always a good thing, I think.
No, I'm with you. Best television announcers, Jesus Christ. I don't have an issue with Ian Riccaboni. I don't have an issue with him. I have an issue with Excalibur being number 2. Kevin Kelly won this award. I love Kevin Kelly. When I watch New Japan on Thursdays on Access TV right after 2 hours of Impact Wrestling, I love Kevin Kelly. I've always liked him going back to the late 90s with WWF/WWE. Happy to see him win this award. I just wasn't happy. I mean, again, I don't want to get into the numbers of it, but the difference was 14 votes between Excalibur and Kevin Kelly doing the vote totals. That's scary that anybody, again, with a functional IQ, anyone that's at least cognitively competent would say to me, hey, Fernando, when I listen to Dynamite on Wednesdays, man, Excalibur is just amazing. What version of Earth are you living on that someone could say that with a straight face?
I don't know, man. I mean, again, dude, you're talking about the Mark audience. That's it. You're talking about these people that are AEW diehards that they don't care. They don't care what happens, So I mean, look, Excalibur does a good job for a guy announcing an indie wrestling show. Like I'm sure he was the man at PWG, But for a mainstream audience, he has potential. I mean, he's gonna have to eventually lose that fucking mask if he wants to be fucking serious. Because, bro, nobody's taking that shit seriously. Nobody.
Nobody. And mind you, and whatever brand of Adderall or whatever he's mixing it with or chopping it up with, bro, you listen to when he does a rundown at the end of Dynamite. I mean, that's cocaine's a hell of a drug. You want to talk about Cocaine Bear? Like, holy cow. Like, the amount of cocaine or Adderall, I don't know if Tony Khan and him do lines together before the show. There are moments that Excalibur is through a lineup for Rampage and Dynamite the following week. It's scary. It really is scary. Other awards here, Best Non-Wrestler at number 3, Don Callis. At number 2, William Regal. At number 1, Paul Heyman. That tends to sort of be like the manager award. No disagreement there. Paul Heyman has been gold with what he's been doing with the Bloodline since Roman Reigns turned heel in August, I believe July of 2020. Since teaming with Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman he's always been gold. It's not just this program with the Bloodline. He's always been a great manager, a great talker. No disagreement there. Rookie of the Year at number 3, Logan Paul. At number 2, Hook. That's just an abomination. Mm-hmm. At number 1, Braun Breaker overwhelmingly with the vote total. Don't disagree there, man. Braun Breaker's had a hell of a year. A guy who last year going back into Stand and Deliver in Dallas during WrestleMania weekend, hell of a match with Dolph Ziggler, has carried the NXT Championship for a better part of almost a calendar year. We'll see what happens with his time on NXT. He might be called up to Raw or SmackDown relatively soon. His growth and development, Pat, has been just it's almost on steroids. It has been so advanced in terms of how well he gets the business. Obviously, having his father and uncle as a resource doesn't hurt him either. But Braun Breaker gets it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you could tell the guy's a genetic freak. He's probably really good at math. And he's a guy that obviously, you know, he's definitely got the DFG thing going on. But no, man, he's an immense talent. You know, it's funny you mention it because for me, I think you bring in a guy like Jay White to like, you know, to like take the title off of Breaker. I think, you know, Jay White, I would love to see him in NXT, get some shine there, and then go to the main roster because I think that would be the best way for him to go for an American audience to know him. But I mean, I would love to see like, you know, this Waller-Michael showdown happen, and then Sean just like throws up a too sweet, and then Jay White, his music hits and he comes out. You know, the Marks would eat that shit up. You know, they would go bananas over that. So I think that would be something that would be really, really awesome. And I think he would be a good guy to take the title as a babyface off of Breaker, who you could eventually turn heel. But you know, I have no issues with this. And you know, obviously, you know, they're gonna put their boy Hook over. Hook to me, you know, it's been just a ton of hype. Not really delivered very much on a lot of the hype. Yeah. I would say a guy like Dom Mysterio has probably done a lot more than he has.
Yeah, I would say a hell of a rookie year for Dom Mysterio. Again, especially turning heel and how he's embraced that character and the amazing character work he's been doing, I think has been sensational. Moving on to most underrated, at number 3, Ricochet. At number 2, Chad Gable. I would argue I love Chad Gable. I love what Alpha Academy has become, him and Otis. At number 1, the winner, Konosuke Takeshita, winning most underrated wrestler. A marked response by that audience in AEW. They've really been pushing Takeshita hard for the better part of this winter on AEW television. Remains to be seen what happens. Obviously, we have the big Casino Battle Royale coming up at Revolution to see who gets the title shot against TNT champion Samoa Joe. I wouldn't be surprised to see Takeshita win that Battle Royal, but I could be wrong. Most overrated was interesting. At number 3, Roman Reigns. That's criminal to call Roman Reigns overrated. At number 2, Tyrus, the reigning, defending NWA World Heavyweight Champion and Fox News superstar. At number 1, Ronda Rousey. Oof. You know, to call Roman Reigns overrated, again, anyone with a functional IQ and some sort of cognitive competence, you have to be declining in both to not see that Roman Reigns, since turning heel in 2020 and what he's done being Universal Champion, now the double champion, folks, he's been the best guy arguably of the last decade and a half.
Acknowledge him.
I think it's the mark audience and Wrestling Observer newsletter subscribers that don't know what good wrestling is if it fell from the sky.
I mean, bro, you said it, dude. You know, straight up marks, man. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at any of this. The awareness is just not there. And what else would you expect from this crowd, honestly?
It's awful. Moving up into best flying wrestler, at number 3, Dante Martin. At number 2, Rey Fenix. At number 1, not a surprise, and I think it's a good selection. I mean, of the very little we can pick from here, El Hijo del Vikingo. I think he deserves that one. I don't disagree with that one.
He's an animal, bro. He's an animal. Like, let me tell you something, all you people out there, if you haven't seen El Hijo del Vikingo yet, give him a look. This dude is amazing. Some of the stuff that he does, I mean, it's like, it kind of reminds me of like Rey Mysterio when he first got that mainstream exposure, and you were seeing him everywhere, and he was just such a game changer. He was so exciting, and every time he came out, you knew you'd see something special. So let me tell you, I think whatever company snatches him up in the long run, and you know, obviously his evolution as a character, as physical, you know, everything, like all that stuff, it's going to be really, really fascinating to see. But give him a look, folks, because he's fantastic.
Oh, definitely, for sure. The Bruiser Brody Memorial Award given to the best brawler. At number 3, Minoru Suzuki. At number 2, Tomohiro Ishii. And at number 1, Jon Moxley. I mean, Bruiser Brody, legend. Loved watching him. Best brawler. I mean, I don't disagree. Jon Moxley's been up there this year. I mean, he's had some fucking brawls, bro. Like, so,
he's the worst. He's the worst out of the Shield.
You know, moving up, the Bryan Danielson Award for Best Technical Wrestler. At number 3, Daniel Garcia, atrocious. Number 2, Zack Sabre Jr. And the winner of the Bryan Danielson Award for Best Technical Wrestler, Bryan Danielson.
Wow. So who did he present it to himself?
I don't.
Is that how it worked?
I don't know. Most charismatic. See, this is what's funny. These idiots will vote that Roman Reigns is overrated. He comes in number 3 on the list. But in most charismatic, Roman Reigns is 3rd, Sami Zayn at 2nd, and overwhelmingly this year, the winner for most charismatic wrestler, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Makes sense of that, Pat.
You can't. I would have to put my head up my ass on camera, and I think we're going to get kicked off if I do that.
We might get banned.
You can check it out on our. You can check it out on our OnlyFans. You know,
yes,
once we get
absolutely.
that going, you know,
most improved at number 3, Jamie Hayter. Don't disagree there. Has done really good work. Number 2, Mina Shigakawa, and at number 1, the most improved wrestler/wrestlers, the Acclaimed. I don't have an issue with that, folks. If you look at what Max Caster and his partner have done from when AEW first started, when they were losing week after week. I mean, it was almost at like historic record losing streak to what they are now. They are so over organically. And that's one of those few gimmicks that AEW has produced that has really gotten over with an audience. They sell merch. It gets crowds pumped up. The Acclaim being most improved, I don't disagree.
Where's the Briscoes? Where's FTR?
In terms of most improved?
I mean.
No,
greatest tag team.
No. We'll get there. We're getting there, but I don't have an issue.
FTR's at the Blue Oyster in Police Academy. That's where they
are. I don't have an issue with the Acclaim being most improved.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think that. How can you be most improved if you're already good? Like they were already good. For me, the most improved wrestler of the year is Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose was the shits for a while, man. Yeah. And then she went to NXT. She got her shit together, and she was fantastic. So if I got to pick a most improved, I got to say Mandy Rose is it.
And by the way, since you mentioned Mandy Rose real quick, I know that on our wrestling chat, D, you'll probably see it. But coming up in March in Manhattan, I think March 25th. I mean, obviously March 11th is the big event convention in Queens, a lot of meet and greets. But March 25th is a Mandy Rose meet and greet. Now, check this out, though, okay? There's a $30 admission fee just to buy a ticket to get into the – it's not just her. It's like some promotional company that has like a bunch of people, I think like former baseball players, former MMA people. But Mandy Rose is one of the big ticket people that day. This is what's interesting. $30 to get in just for the admission. If you want a photo with her, it's $60. But if you want a photo with her in her swimsuit, it's $200. It's a professionally done photo. I'm assuming there's a photographer there. They'll print it up. They'll give it to you. Bro, Mandy Rose is making stupid money on her OnlyFans. Can you imagine the amount of creepy guys?
Wait, she's doing that?
What's that?
She's doing. What about all these women wrestlers saying, "I don't want these guys touching me," or she's putting on a bikini for these dudes?
But that's why she lost her gig, because of stuff like that.
She's going to, again. You can take a regular picture with her for $60. I'm assuming maybe she'll wear a robe or something. I don't know what the hell.
I'm in.
But for $200, you can take a picture with her as she's in a swimsuit. I cringe at thinking of the amount of disgusting, non-bathing, just marks that are going to be staying next to her. I mean, Mandy, do you need the money? Does Amanda Sacramento really need the money that badly?
Maybe her husband does.
Maybe well, they just got engaged. Maybe they got to pay for the wedding. I don't know, but that's
ella está sacando mano. Mandy está sacando mano.
A lot of guys are sacando mano with Mandy Rose, that's for sure. So yeah, just a little bit for our audience. But just for our audience, coming up on March 25th in Midtown Manhattan, I believe at the Radisson, or I think we'll announce in the coming weeks there for anyone that's interested in meeting.
How much to have a match with her?
I don't know. She can have my baby anytime she wants. I don't mind a garnishment on my wages. I don't mind shared custody. That's just me, but that's okay. Feud of the year at number 3, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins.
Wanks.
At number 2, wow, the first piece of pussy I actually don't like looking at. Wow. At number 2, CM Punk versus MJF. And feud of the year, the Briscoes versus F.
There we go.
Don't disagree. FTR and the Briscoes had a hell of a feud in 2022.
Cody versus Rollins is bigger.
Fair.
Better.
Okay.
Bigger
I love the
Briscoes.
I love the Briscoes, but that other team, they're not really stars, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. But Cody and Seth, those are 2 big stars. You had one of their matches took place at the biggest wrestling show of the year. What's the argument? You know what I'm saying?
No, I get you.
What's the argument? All 3 of those matches were bangers. Bangers.
They were. I mean, so was FTR and the Briscoes. They were all great. But I mean, no, it
was good. It was good, like for the minor league level. It was good. The Briscoes are amazing. They're one of the best tag teams of all time, in my opinion. Period. And a big rest in peace as always to Jay Briscoe. But FTR, they really proved themselves in that match, I think, facing a real tag team, an original tag team.
I tell you, D, the hate is real. I'll tell you.
Blow.
There's no hate. There's no hate, bro. Hey, I said what I said.
No, well, hey, listen, that's in the process of being copyrighted right now and patented. So, come on now. Probably one of the more original things I've ever done, if original. Best box office draw at number 3, CM Punk. At number 2, John Cena. And it's interesting. He was the 3rd most overrated wrestler according to subscribers, but the best box office draw was Roman Reigns. These marks at the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it's like it's so oxymoronic. I don't even know where to begin.
Are these the same people that vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, maybe.
That's crazy, dude.
Roman Reigns, best box office draw. Okay.
Most overrated, though.
Yeah.
Third most overrated.
It's madness. Women's wrestling most valuable player. At number 3, Jamie Hayter. At number 2, Bianca Belair. And then at number 1, overwhelmingly vote total-wise, was Saruri.
Who the hell's that?
Yeah, that's my question. I mean, look, I'm not taking anything away from her. She's probably one of the Joshis from start, and she could work her ass off. Correct. But like, Bianca Belair is fucking selling out stadiums, bro. Come on, let's be fucking real here.
Absolutely. The Hodge Award for non-heavyweight MVP at number 3, El Desperado. Number 2, I'm sorry, folks, for laughing. Darby Allin. And at number 1, I won't laugh at this because this guy's solid. Again, we just talked about him. El Hijo de Vikingo, the Hodge Award winner for non-heavyweight MVP. Don't disagree there.
No. I no gripes whatsoever. I think it's fantastic.
At the European MVP, at number 3, Ricky Knight Jr. At number 2, Michael Oku. And number 1, William Ospreay. Don't disagree. I love Will Ospreay. Wish he was featured more prominently. Don't disagree there. The Mexican MVP, number 3, Rey Fénix. Number 2, Mystico. At number 1, no surprise, El Hijo de Vikingo. The Japanese MVP, number 3, Saruri. Number 2, Will Ospreay. And at number 1, Kazuchika Okada. Kazuchika Okada, excuse me. At number 1 for Japanese.
No gripes.
The United States / Canada MVP at number 3, the Ocho, Chris Jericho. Unbelievable. At number 2, Roman Reigns. And at number 1, Jonathan Moxley.
Did you hear Chris Jericho almost died?
I know what happened.
The reason why he lost weight was because he had something going on inside his I don't know if it was his lungs, and they were like, if you don't lose weight, you will die. Yeah, that's why he had to lose weight fast.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
Huh.
I could have sworn it was drugs or like a shitty lifestyle, but
I knew that was coming.
no, but let's be honest. I mean, look, he's always on tour with what are they called?
Ozzy.
The Chris Jericho band. He's always on tour with the Chris Jericho band. You know, they play Judas over and over again wherever they go and do covers, and yeah, you know, it's probably the lifestyle catching up with him. You know, D and I know a thing or two about that rock lifestyle. You know,
there you go.
Just we didn't smoke rock though, so that's
thank God. Match of the year: Kazuchika Okada versus.
God bless you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Versus Will Ospreay. At number 2, FTR versus the Briscoes in their famous dog collar match, the conclusion of the trilogy. And, 2 of the 3 match of the year winner candidates here. The number 1, Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay in August of 2022, their first match in January, match of the year. Interesting. While Rampage was the 4th worst television show, best weekly show at number 3, AEW Rampage. Number 2, WWE SmackDown, and the best weekly television episodic program in professional wrestling, AEW Dynamite. Wow.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say to that.
Promotion of the year, while it was the worst promotion of the year, at number 3, the best promotion of the year, WWE. At number 2, Stardom, and the best promotion of the year, 4 consecutive years, like their booker and promoter of the year, AEW, the promotion of the year. Best on-air interviews at number 3, CM Punk. At number 2, Jon Moxley. At number 1, MJF. This is egregious because how are you going to tell me that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline have not been the best on-air interviews anywhere? You want to go MJF? You want to be the mark audience? I'll give you that, but it's not better than the Bloodline.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Paul Heyman, the Bloodline in general. I mean, come on, man. You know, all these people, this is good shit. Like, I don't have a problem with Punk, but like, damn, bro, really? Like, Moxley? Like, no Bloodline, no Roman, no Heyman? I don't know. It's a little weird. It's a little weird.
It's again, Moxley best on it. Again, Moxley's not always been the best promo person, so I found this to be very odd. But overwhelmingly, MJF ran away with the vote total here, which was really, really interesting. Moving up here, tag team of the year at number 4, the Usos. That's just this. It's disgraceful, to be honest with you. At number 3, the Young Bucks. At number 2, the Briscoes. And at number 1, of course, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, FTR, overwhelmingly the tag team of the year, according to Wrestling Observer Premium subscribers.
Over them boys?
The vote total was overwhelming.
Why are you playing the Midnight Express's theme song? I don't understand. No, hold on. I got FTR's theme song. Here we go.
There you go. Now, what was really egregious though, and again, the fact that the Usos were number 4, really.
No, you already lost me with that shit, bro. Like that's what I'm saying. You lost me with putting the Usos at number 4. Come on,
it was
bro.
awful. But this is what's really egregious. I haven't done the math with I haven't shared the math with the audience, but the Briscoes had 1,357 votes. FTR had 3,859 votes. The Usos got less votes than the Young Bucks. In what version of Earth are the Usos not the best tag team in the world? When you look at their matches, you look at their in-ring performance, their promo work. Again, I'm an FTR mark. I'm not going to apologize for it. But anybody, again, with a functional IQ, but anybody with a functional IQ knows that the Usos for years now have been the best tag team. Again, I just think it's mark voting on steroids.
They should. They got to flip the list the other way around. Usos at the top, FTR at the bottom.
I agree.
What I'm saying? They're used to being the bottom,
Wow. To quote the great Jerry Seinfeld, there's anything wrong with that, again, in this climate we live in of inclusivity and acceptance, right? So,
not that there's anything wrong about it.
No. At most outstanding wrestler, at number 3, Kazuchika Okada. Number 2, Bryan Danielson. And number 1, overwhelmingly, the number was crazy, 4,807 votes to Bryan Danielson's 1,286 votes. Will Ospreay, the most outstanding wrestler.
What?
Yep. Crazy math.
I mean, he had a great year, but again, bro, these are marks, bro. These are marks. Come on, man. It's going to be all New Japan. It's going to be all AEW. It's going to be all Stardom. Anything but WWE and reality and common sense, all out the fucking window. So
and the last award, the main event, as they say, this one I will give you the vote totals. I think it's because it's relevant to see how disconnected from reality really the voters are here with the rest of the Observer newsletter. The Lou Thesz / Ric Flair Award for the best wrestler of the year. Honorable mention, Sami Zayn with 89 votes. Number 10 with 91 votes, Bryan Danielson. And number 9, Julia with 199 votes. CM Punk with 203 votes at number 8. With 325 votes, number 7, MJF. Thank God Pat is sitting down for this one. With 439 votes, Chris Jericho at number 6. With 551 votes, Sururi at number 5. At number 4, with 679 votes, Kazuchika Okada. At number 3, with 1,591 votes, Will Ospreay. And number 2, with 2,216 votes, Roman Reigns. And with 3,101 votes, overwhelmingly over everybody, the Lou Thesz Ric Flair Best Wrestler of the Year, Jon Moxley. Pat's no selling this one. Pat's no selling this. Pat's like, what?
I mean, I get it. I get what John means to that company, but bro, come on, man.
Dude, he's overrated.
Come on, Roman. I wouldn't even say that. John's a really talented
he's
guy.
Compared to Roman or Seth, he's overrated.
The fact that Seth Rollins wasn't even on this list is an embarrassment.
That's another thing. Yeah, you look at that, you're like, bro, like, come on.
Chris Jericho was 6th. That's embarrassing.
Chris Jericho's on the list. That's embarrassing, bro. Like that, he shouldn't be on there, bro, anymore. You have him on, but you don't got Seth Rollins on. You don't got Cody on. Come on, bro. Come on, man. Come on.
It's those are, folks, the 2022.
I'm done. I'm tapping out. Look, I'm tapping out right here. I'm done.
Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards. I got to tell you, I always take the PWI awards a little more seriously, but not by much, Pat.
Nah, bro. I mean, PWI, it's fine. I get it. It's whatever. But, like, this is just egregious, bro. And this is just removed from reality. But, hey, that's Meltzer fans. You know what I'm saying? That's March. So,
yeah.
Good luck to you guys.
It's just crazy. Before we call it a show here tonight, here on the 26th of February, on this day in pro wrestling history, though, Pat, in 1967, Vern Gagne won his 8th record-setting AWA World Heavyweight Championship with a win over Mad Dog Vachon at the St. Paul Civic Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. On this day in 1997, WWF Monday Night Raw was taped in Europe for the first time. At an event in Berlin, Germany, the Germans were privileged to watch the crowning of the first ever European champion, thus Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, in beating his brother-in-law in the tournament finals, the King of Hearts, Owen Hart. The match would air eventually in the United States on March the 3rd on a taped edition of Monday Night Raw. Also on this day in pro wrestling history, on a live event of Monday Night Raw from Fresno, California, John Cena and Shawn Michaels defeated Rated RKO to win the Raw Tag Team Championships. Again, shortly going into their match at WrestleMania 23 at Ford Field that year. A great win by Shawn Michaels and John Cena. Also in 2011, Ring of Honor's 9th anniversary show took place at the Frontier Park Fieldhouse in Chicago. In the main event, Mark and Jay Briscoe lost to Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. And also earlier in the card, Roderick Strong defended the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title in a no-holds-barred match against Homicide in 2011. In 2020, All Elite Wrestling taped the 21st episode of Dynamite in Independence, Missouri. The highlight of the show was Kenny Omega defeating Pac in a 30-minute Iron Man match. And certainly also on this day in pro wrestling history in 2021, on Friday Night SmackDown, Bianca Belair announced she would challenge Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania, certainly leading to the historic women's main event on night one of WrestleMania that year. Again, the first WrestleMania out of COVID, as it was sort of limited capacity at Buccaneer Stadium in Tampa that year in 2021. Hell of a show to close it out there. All of this good stuff happening on this day in pro wrestling history. Any thoughts, Pat?
No. I want to be done with this. It's fucking 2 hours already, and I'm starving.
Okay, fair enough. Pat, before we call it a show here, anything coming up you want to let our audience know about?
There's nothing coming up. I just would like to take time to put over a couple of things from the show. Fernando, I'd like to put over the pencil. You did a great job working the pencil this show. Dave, I'd like to thank you.
And your insight and your wit, your comedic wit as well. It was spot on and called for. Fernando, keep the pencil. I think the pencil is a good thing for you, man. You got it's a little Bill Clinton, little Bob Dole, you got a little something going on there with the maybe a little Mr. Perfect. But anyways, thank you so much to all you people watching the show. I'm done fucking talking. I'm starving. Fernando, I leave you with that.
All right, folks, again, make sure tomorrow night you tune into Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on Jersey First TV via StreamYard on Facebook Live, also on YouTube, as I'll have State Assembly candidate Joe Miller, who is running for State Assembly in the 5th Legislative District in South Jersey. Great interview with him coming up tomorrow, as all the 120 legislative seats are up in the state of New Jersey this November. Joe Miller's got a lot to say as he's running for State Assembly. Folks, again, live at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, always check out Working the Marks, as you know, here on Famcast Media. Certainly a shout out to our amazing producer, the just unbelievable D Rotten, for making this show possible on YouTube, via Facebook Live on StreamYard. Also, folks, on Twitch. Certainly check us out on all of our social media. Make sure you shoot us a DM, follow us, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Shoot us an email, folks, workingthemarks@gmail.com. And, of course, can't say enough without you, our loyal viewing audience, folks, as we transition here to StreamYard from our audio podcast. Again, you go check out previous episodes at blogtalkradio.com/workingthemarks. Of course, download them wherever you get your podcasts and take them with you wherever you like to listen to Working the Marks. Folks, he is New Jersey's premier wrestling analyst, the PBR superstar, Patrick Rivera, and of course, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, the Professor Fernando Uribe. Folks, and every single week here on Famcast Media, we are Working the Marks on YouTube and on StreamYard via Facebook Live. Folks, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week here on Working the Marks on StreamYard.
Famcast Media. Bitch. Famcast Media.